Had you whispered to me a year past that a mere embrace could unravel something deep within, something I was blissfully unaware had been sealed away, I would have chuckled in disbelief. With utmost courtesy, naturally. Perhaps it's the kind of smile that women of my generation have mastered, one that surfaces when something resonates a bit too deeply. Yet I would have found it amusing, for what force could ever stir a woman such as myself? A woman who has traversed 62 years, nurtured children, laid to rest her parents, smiled through countless Thanksgivings, and meticulously wiped countertops, erasing both crumbs and the unfinished dialogues that lingered in the air. I believed I had witnessed everything there was to behold, experienced every emotion, yet I had not. It had been ages since I felt truly acknowledged. Allow me to introduce myself. I am known as Maggie. I reside in a serene nook of Connecticut, within a dwelling adorned with an abundance of windows yet lacking in the warmth of conversation. Frank, my husband, embodies the essence of goodness. Unwavering, triumphant, the type who consistently remembers to send flowers on anniversaries, yet neglects to inquire about the details of your day. Life unfolds as acceptable, cozy, unsurprising. Perhaps that is where the issue lies. I found myself not in pursuit of anything. I was not in pursuit of thrills or romantic tales that had long since lost their freshness. Life unfolded in a series of muted mornings, each breakfast a solitary affair, followed by a tranquil journey through the stillness of the town. It was on a seemingly ordinary afternoon that everything shifted. Tiny detail, something deeply human. It was not a kiss, or perhaps a glance. It was merely an embrace. Yet, it was the sort that serves as a gentle reminder. You remain present. You remain undeniably present. And in an instant, I found myself awake within the tapestry of my existence. For nearly 3 decades, I have called this neighborhood my home. In this tranquil suburb, the mail arrives punctually at 11:15, and the most sensational event is when a resident neglects to retrieve their trash bins. In October, the maple trees ignite in a blaze of golden fire, while a winding trail meanders behind the houses, where dogs greet one another as old friends. Nearby, a cafe continues to offer coffee in an array of mismatched mugs, each with its own story, accompanied by a warm smile. The tranquility envelopes this place. Unsurprising, and, if I'm being truthful, just a touch lonely. The cadence of my days unfolds with a certain harmony. Each morning, I tend to the plants in the sunroom, a ritual I've maintained since the children left home. I prepare breakfast, eggs for myself, toast for Frank, though he frequently departs for the golf club before I even manage to crack the first egg. When the weather is pleasant, I find myself wandering along the creek trail, often passing the old bench that has been forgotten by those who once sought its comfort. Every Thursday, I find myself at the museum board meetings in the heart of downtown, primarily to prevent myself from fading away. Frank, my husband for 39 years, commands the respect of those around him. He constructed his enterprise from the very foundation, chose to retire ahead of schedule, and now dedicates the majority of his days to refining his golf swing and engaging in courteous dialogue with gentlemen clad in pastel polo shirts. He is an excellent provider. It has always been that way, yet there are moments when I ponder. He offers all but his own presence. Our words come in brief bursts now, practical ones, as if exchanging whispers in a bustling corridor. Have you settled the gas bill? The plumber arrived today. Your sister reached out. There's nothing amiss between us, at least not in written form. Yet there exists no authenticity either. There was a time when I believed I held significance. Essential, indeed. At this moment, I find myself feeling silent. It feels as though I am gradually blending into the very fabric of my existence. Yet I persevered, in the manner of women, until someone, quite unexpectedly, gazed at me as if I were not a mere shadow. In an instant, fragments of my true self began to resurface. Frank and I never engage in conflict. We maintain a calm demeanor, avoiding slamming doors or raising our voices. We are far too refined for such behavior. We simply, to be, next to each other, like two trees rooted close together, yet reaching out in divergent paths. Remaining upright, firmly anchored in the familiar earth, yet devoid of contact. Not quite. He is not devoid of kindness. He was never that. He recalls birthdays with precision, always leaves a generous tip, and places his shoes by the door with unwavering consistency. Yet, amidst the celebrations of retirement and the joyful gatherings for grandkids' birthdays, he vanished. Not in a physical sense, his body remains present. Yet his presence, his true essence, it resembles the effort of seeking a radio frequency that has fallen into silence. In the stillness of the night, as I lie beside him, I find myself pondering whether he ever perceives the silence that has enveloped me. Or perhaps he believes that the silence is merely the sound of love after all these years. We operate as a well-oiled machine now. Effective, unsurprising. We prepare meals, alternate washing the dishes, and engage in courteous discussions about property taxes and grocery lists. Yet, the spark of curiosity seems to have faded away. No inquiries about the day's events? No, share your thoughts with me, he would often inquire. That memory lingers in my mind. In those days when our fingers intertwined amidst the throngs, and joy flowed effortlessly. Should I choose to exit the room while still speaking, he remains oblivious to my departure. When tears fall in the shower, he never questions the dampness of the towels. And yet, I cannot hold him solely accountable. Life possesses an uncanny ability to dull the senses on both fronts. I suppose I ceased to inquire as well. Yet, a transformation occurred within me. Silently, gradually, I started to understand that what I longed for most wasn't the romance, the gifts, or the anniversaries. It was the sensation of recognition, and I found myself unable to recall the last moment when someone truly gazed at me, not merely past me. Daniel entered our lives following Frank's knee surgery 2 years prior. The doctor advised against driving for a time, and I suppose we simply never resumed the service thereafter. It was simpler that way. Cozy. In his mid-40s, he stands tall yet unassuming, exuding a tranquility that seems entirely natural. Daniel speaks sparingly, and when he does, his voice carries a deliberate weight. Each word seems to hold significance. Though he may not be the most talkative individual, there exists a serene essence within him that occupies the atmosphere more profoundly than mere words ever might. He dons impeccably pressed button-downs, each one a testament to meticulous care. Steers with both hands firmly gripping the wheel. He opens the door with a subtle nod, greeting, "Good morning, Mrs. Wallace," in a deep, steady voice. I once found myself in the position of correcting him. "Please, just Maggie." Yet he would offer a polite smile and persist regardless, until one afternoon, when he finally declared, "Maggie it is," and the way he uttered it imbued the moment with a sense of preciousness. Initially, our conversation was limited to mere niceties. The atmospheric conditions, congestion, the aroma of coffee wafting from the paper cup cradled in my hand. Yet, as time passed, our dialogue started to extend ever so slightly. He would inquire about the novels I was immersed in, or bring up a melody he caught on the airwaves. He possessed an uncanny ability to recall the fleeting words I had shared, those subtle nuances, such as the name of my beloved painter or my preferred way of enjoying tea. Initially, it took me by surprise. I found myself unaccustomed to the experience of being taken into account, observed. It lacked any hint of flirtation. There were no suggestive glances or lingering touches. Only existence, a soft, unwavering, silent essence. In an unexpected twist, that transformed into the most profound connection of all. It was one of those brisk autumn afternoons, where the air carries a refreshing chill, a gentle reminder that the seasons are shifting. As I emerged from the salon, the air felt different around me. Nothing too radical, merely a trim and a blowout that lifted my spirits, reminding me of the woman I once recognized in the mirror long ago. Daniel stood at the curb, the engine humming softly, his posture relaxed as he leaned against the car, one hand casually tucked into his pocket. Upon catching sight of me, he opened the door with a familiar, understated elegance and greeted me with, "Good afternoon, Mrs. Wallace." After a brief pause, I allowed a smile to grace my lips. "You can call me Maggie," I remarked, as I settled into the back seat. With each utterance of Mrs., I sensed the weight of age settling upon me. He released a gentle laugh and gave a nod of understanding. It is Maggie. A change stirred within the fabric of reality after that moment. Perhaps not within him. Perhaps it resides solely within me. Our dialogues began to extend beyond mere discussions of traffic and weather. He inquired once whether I had an affinity for jazz, remarked that his mother would often play it while preparing Sunday dinners. I shared with him my admiration for Ella Fitzgerald, explaining how her voice enveloped me like a comforting blanket on a chilly evening. He inquired about my reading material and genuinely paid attention to my response. Not merely with courtesy, but with complete sincerity. A form of listening that resonates deeply, that observes you. On a serene afternoon, following an unusually tranquil journey back, he presented me with a modest paper bag. "Give this a go," he suggested. A delightful sweet potato pie. Heirloom recipe. My eyes widened in astonishment. "Daniel, I am unable to. Only a slice," he interjected softly. "Let me know if it's worthwhile the next time we speak." That evening, I found myself seated at the kitchen table in solitude, the pie resting on a worn plate before me. It had the flavor of genuine care, as if someone had finally acknowledged my presence. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a gentle warmth began to swell within my chest. Not a tale of love, not yearning, simply embrace. In the week leading up to Thanksgiving, Frank reached out to me from his hotel in Atlanta. "It's merely another conference," he remarked, his tone already drifting away. "I shall return in time for the sweet finale." He consistently utters that phrase, just in time for dessert, as though arriving for the last course could possibly compensate for having missed the entire feast. I set the phone down and lingered in the kitchen, my hand still clutching the receiver long after the conversation had concluded. The stillness in the house weighed more heavily that day. It was as if the very walls had absorbed the sorrow woven into my words. As the afternoon sun began to wane, Daniel arrived to escort me to my monthly gathering at the museum board. I settled into the back seat, the familiar weight of quiet sadness draped around me like an old scarf I couldn't quite discard. "Challenging day?" he inquired softly, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. It was never my intention to voice those words. It simply escaped my lips. "My husband is opting out of Thanksgiving." Once more, Daniel pressed forward, his gaze fixed ahead. For a fleeting moment, silence enveloped him. He spoke gently. "Holidays ought to be about embracing the moment." That was everything. Only a single sentence, yet it struck with a force unmatched by 1,000 lectures. He neither reprimanded nor offered consolation. He merely beheld me, observed the gap that gradually expanded between my former self and the person I was evolving into. For the first time, I found myself unashamedly aware of that space. As I gazed through the window, the trees stood stark and bare, their limbs exposed to the chill of winter's embrace. They remained upright in their quietude, vulnerable yet unapologetic. And deep within my chest, a subtle change occurred. There is not a glimmer of light. It is not ablaze. On the eve of the much-anticipated charity gala, the atmosphere was charged with excitement. The sort where individuals don footwear that constricts and wear expressions that fail to illuminate their gaze. I donned a navy dress that once held the title of my favorite, though it now embraced me a bit more snugly, and adorned my ears with earrings that began to make my lobes throb by the second hour. The dialogues unfolded with a certain inevitability. Tales of grandchildren, visions of retirement, and cherished recipes. I offered a smile, gave a nod, and took a sip of the diluted wine. And in silence, I lingered, anticipating the moment it would end. As Daniel maneuvered the car into position, a gentle drizzle began to descend, casting a delicate mist over the windshield. I eased into the back seat, sinking into the leather as if it were the first genuine sensation I had encountered all evening. He caught my reflection in the mirror, his voice a gentle whisper. "You look beautiful tonight, Maggie." It lacked any hint of flirtation. It was not a cacophony. It was a compliment that required nothing in return. It remains in place, radiant, unwavering, authentic. I chose not to reply. Not immediately. I remained seated, the chill of the night lingering against my skin, the heaviness of the evening settling upon my chest. Reluctance washed over me as I sat in the car, wishing to remain cocooned in its familiarity. Not at this moment. Daniel remained silent, his curiosity unvoiced. He allowed me the time I needed. After a brief pause, he shifted in his seat. Our gazes intertwined. In that moment, he silently extended his arms wide. It was not an invitation. It was
a vast expanse.
And I ventured forth into it. The embrace lingered, stretching into a moment that felt timeless. Yet, no accolades here. An impolite act. It was an embrace that conveyed, "I see you. I have arrived." His coat carried the scent of something fresh and comforting. His arms didn't embrace me tightly, yet they enveloped me entirely. In that fleeting instant, I transcended the confines of being 62, married, or overlooked. I existed merely as a woman, to be embraced, to be acknowledged, and I recalled the sensation of truly being alive. Thanksgiving has come and gone. Frank arrived that morning, suitcase in hand, golf bag draped over his shoulder as if it were more valuable than the moments he had lost. He pressed his lips to my cheek, inquired about the hour for dinner, and chose to ignore the absence that had left the preparations to me alone. He lacked cruelty. He wasn't aloof, not in the ways one might expect. He poured the wine, praised the cranberry sauce, and dozed off midway through the football game, just as he did every year, and in some inexplicable way that seemed to amplify the solitude more than his absence ever could. After a span of 2 days, I reached out to Daniel. "I don't require a lift," I replied. "I was curious if you might be available for a coffee." Our paths crossed at a quaint cafe tucked away on Maplewood, the sort that boasted chipped mugs and windows that misted with the rain's gentle touch. Upon my arrival, he was already present, perched with a book resting in his lap, hands cradling a steaming cup. I found myself uncertain of what I truly anticipated. Yet, as soon as I settled into my seat, an overwhelming sensation washed over me, more buoyant. Initially, our words were few, sat quietly, allowing the silence to occupy the voids left by our hesitance to speak. After some time had passed, he turned to me and remarked, "I understand that I am not the one you envisioned your life alongside, Maggie. I'm not requesting to be." He hesitated for a moment, then continued in a gentle tone, "But perhaps, allow me the privilege, and I shall guide you in rediscovering your true self." I held back my tears. I did not tumble into his embrace. I merely inclined my head in acknowledgment. At one point, gradually, that subtle, unassuming act conveyed a world of meaning. The focus was never truly on Daniel, not in the manner that many would typically presume. Not a romance that blooms in the twilight of life, nor a clandestine affair poised to be exposed. The focus was on me. Once, she was vibrant and full of life, but over time, she had gradually faded into a mere specter within the walls that once echoed her laughter. She glided through her days with a serene grace, folding both laundry and her emotions in a seamless, practiced rhythm. She offered a polite smile, declared herself fine, and held on to that belief, for she had no room left to entertain any other thoughts. It was acknowledgment, the profound, transformative gesture of allowing oneself to be visible, of being posed a question and feeling the weight of someone's anticipation, truly waiting for the response, of sharing a silence that resonated, brimming with a profound sense of presence. He brought to my attention that I was still very much present, that I continued to harbor thoughts, preferences, and memories deserving of expression, that I could still sense something and allow it to hold significance. It seems that women, particularly as they reach a certain stage in life, are often conditioned to fade into the background, to exchange fervor for decorum, to weave oneself into the tapestry of others' lives as a subtle melody. Yet, I find myself weary of playing the role of mere background music. I yearn to become the melody once more. I won't be departing from Frank, that much is certain. Or perhaps I shall begin anew. It simply signifies that I am now alert. I intend to remain in this state. Have you ever experienced the weight of solitude, even in moments of company? Have you ever found yourself seated across from someone dear, sharing a meal, a home, a life, and yet felt utterly unseen? This tale was never intended to unfold with such drama. No scandal exists in this situation. No monumental treachery. Simply a serene reality, the sort we frequently bear in quietude. Maggie's narrative does not stand out solely due to Daniel. It holds a profound strength, for she recalled her essence. She gazed into the mirror, not at the image adorned with pearls and courteous smiles, but at the essence that lay beneath. And she uttered, "I see you. I recall your presence. Perhaps you have lost sight of who you truly are as well. Perhaps you have been navigating through life on autopilot, holding your breath for what seems like an eternity, yearning for the green light to truly feel once more. This tale is crafted for you, to serve as a gentle reminder of your presence. You remain deserving of recognition, to be acknowledged, to be cherished not solely by another, but by your own heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, it is not too late to return to the place you belong. For you, if the story touched something in you, let it sit, let it breathe, and if you're ready, share it, not for clicks or comments, but for the quiet hearts like yours that might need this story tonight. Leave a comment below. Have you ever felt invisible in your own life? Subscribe for more real stories that speak to the soul. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one, because sometimes all we need is a story to remember who we are.